All right, welcome back. Hope you had a wonderful Halloween. Today we're continuing our RBT exam practice question series, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our proven study materials, please check out btexamreview.com. We offer 3 practice exams, a task list study guide, and of course, our combo pack. We also have a join membership button available now on YouTube if you'd like to support us further. Other than that, let's keep working hard. Keep studying hard. Get to our questions. Question 1. You're an RBT working in clinic with a client. Session is running as usual until you notice a brand new program inside your data collection program. You have never seen this program or ran this program before. What should you do? Pretty common scenario. As an RBT, you're constantly going to be given new programs, new interventions, new things to run with your client. And it's always vital that as a technician, you understand 100% what the program is, how to implement it, and how to take data on it. That is your priority, right? Your number one job as an RBT is implementation. So in this case, you're working with the client. Session is going well until you see a new program, but you don't know how to do it and you've never seen it before. What do you do as a technician? A, give your client a break and start to figure out what the program is and what you need to do. Now, you're taking initiative, which is great, but you don't want to just try to figure it out, right? The program is in there, it's in there for a reason, and it needs to be done correctly. So while you're taking good initiative here at A, it's not necessarily the right thing to do, okay? You need to be communicating with your supervisor before trying to just figure out what you need to be doing. B, put the program on hold until you talk with your BCBA. Yes, this is the right way to go about this. It's not saying you're not capable of doing the program, but it's the right way to work as a team, collaborate, and keep that open communication with your supervisor. You're also not jeopardizing the client this way because the BCBA can train you, they can show you the proper way to do it, and make sure nobody is harmed. C, start implementing the program to the best of your ability. Again, we need to first talk to the supervisor and make sure you're 100% certain on how to implement before you actually start implementation. And then D, ask another RBT if they understand how to run the program. I see this all the time in practice. RBTs will ask other RBTs, hey, what do I do with this program? On one hand, it's great because everyone's collaborating and communicating together. On the other hand, each program is individualized for that specific client. So we need to make sure, even if the programs are identical, maybe to another client, the program is going to be run a certain way depending on the client's needs. And how do we figure that out as RBTs? We go to our supervisor. So before you do anything else, if you see a new program you don't know how to run, you're not familiar with, you need to put that on hold, do everything else, put that one on hold, go find your BCBA and talk to them. If you wanted to pick a differential reinforcement procedure to use to assist in teaching a new behavior, what procedure would you not pick? Couple different things here. First, it's a not question, right? What procedure would you not pick? Meaning some of these you would pick to teach a new behavior. And that is really the focus here. We're looking for a differential reinforcement procedure to use that would not teach a new behavior, right? So 2 of these are going to be teaching a new behavior, one isn't, right? Because not all the differential reinforcement procedures you need to know actually teach new behaviors. Okay, think about which one we use where we're not actually reinforcing a replacement behavior. So A, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors. Well, DRA is the ideal differential reinforcement procedure to use because you're teaching that new behavior, right? You're teaching an alternative, you're teaching a replacement behavior, okay, instead of the target behavior you're trying to decrease. B, differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors. DRI is just like DRA. You're teaching a replacement, except in DRI, it's a little more constrained because the replacement behavior has to be incompatible with the old behavior. But in both A and B, in both DRA and DRI, you are teaching a new behavior. What about C, differential reinforcement of other behaviors? With a DRO, we are looking to reinforce for a behavior not occurring. So we're not looking to increase or teach any specific behavior. We're looking to decrease a behavior by putting it on extinction. So with DRO, differential reinforcement of other behaviors, we're not actually teaching any specific new behavior. We're just reinforcing when those old behaviors aren't occurring. So if you wanted to pick a differential reinforcement procedure to teach a new behavior, you would use a DRA, you might use a DRI, you would not pick a C, a DRO, a differential reinforcement of other behaviors. DRO does not teach new replacement behaviors. A functional analysis consists of what? So the task list wants you to know indirect assessments, direct assessments, and functional analyses. Really, the extent of what you need to know about a functional analysis is kind of this question. Okay. A functional analysis is the best way to determine functions of behavior, but RBTs are never going to do them alone. Okay. And full functional analyses take a lot of time, they take a lot of resources, and don't happen all that often. Okay. So, what you need to know about a functional analysis is it's the best way out of the indirect, direct, and this assessment to determine function. So, what does it consist of? A, interviews and surveys. Don't confuse functional analysis with a functional behavior assessment. A functional behavior assessment, or FBA, contains all of these components, right? An FBA contains indirect, direct, and FAs. Okay, so don't confuse the two. Interviews and surveys are not part of this functional analysis. B, event recording and ABC narrative recording. Event recording and ABC narrative recording are typically associated with your direct assessments. Okay. C, antecedent and consequence manipulation. Now we're talking functional analysis. With the functional analysis, we are actually manipulating antecedents and consequences to try to evoke behaviors and to try to see what's maintaining those behaviors. It's the entire idea behind a functional analysis. Now, you might not know that, and that's okay, because as an RBT, functional analysis rarely comes up. But you need to be familiar with indirect assessments being the weakest, direct assessments being your typical, and then functional analysis being the best way to determine function. And how do we do that? We manipulate antecedents and consequences. You have to stay home and finish up a project for school. Your partner takes your children trick-or-treating instead. When they get home, you ask them what kind of candy they got. They dump their bags out and start telling you their favorites. The candy is what? All right, be careful here, okay? Kind of a tricky question. What is happening in this question? Okay, well, you're staying home, you're finishing up a project. Your partner takes your children trick-or-treating instead. They get home and you say, well, what kind of candy did you get? Now, how are you going to measure that? How are you going to be able to determine what kind of candy they got? Well, they can show you. They dump their bags out and start saying, hey, here's all the candy I got. I got Twix, I got Hershey's, blah, 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 right? Now, when we can measure something without actually seeing the behavior take place, what do we call that? We call it permanent product, okay? The candy is the permanent product of trick-or-treating. The kids went around the neighborhood, they went trick-or-treating, they got in costumes, they put everything in bags, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You didn't see any of this, but you can still measure how much candy they got, what kind of candy they got, what's their favorite, and you can do that because of permanent product. The responses and the behaviors of trick-or-treating produce the candy, produce that product. The candy is not reinforcement. Why? Because we don't have any indication of what it does to their behavior. It's not punishment for the same reason. We just are trying to figure out what kind of candy they got. That's the whole point, okay? Not if it's reinforcing or punishing. And candy is not an antecedent relative to anything, really, right? You just say, hey, what kind of candy did you get? And they dump their bags out and start telling you their favorites. So all the candy is in this scenario is permanent product. It's showing you we went trick-or-treating, you weren't there, but you can still see what we got. Trick-or-treating produced the candy, therefore it's permanent product. The new Call of Duty just came out. Brandon rushes home so that he can play it before he has to go to a Halloween party. His mom tells him that he has 45 minutes to play before he needs to get ready. His mom is tracking what dimension of behavior? Okay, pretty easy question. Basic continuous measurement question, right? Basic. Continuous measurement consists of rate, frequency, duration, latency, and instant response time. Continuous measurement, we record all instances of behavior. Very straightforward. So in this case, Call of Duty came out. Brandon rushes home so he can play it. And then his mom says you have 45 minutes to play before you need to get ready. Well, that 45 minute represents what? A, rate. If it was rate, what are we missing? We're missing frequency, okay? There's no frequency, we can't have rate. That's how rate works, right? Rate is frequency over time. B, duration. Duration tells you how long a response or behavior occurs. It's exactly what we're looking at here, right? The duration he has to play is 45 minutes. Mom is tracking duration. C, latency. It is not how long it took him to start playing video games after his mom said something. So no latency here. And then enter response time, time in between responses, time in between playing video games. Again, not what we're looking at. We're looking at the total time he has to play that video game, total duration. Mom is tracking what dimension of behavior? B, duration. A client with autism was taught how to greet others in social situations. The client now greets others upon meeting them, but the client always hugs them. What does the client need to be able to do in order to engage in responses other than hugs? Be careful here, okay? The key phrase or word here is responses and responses other than hugs, okay? We already know the client can greet others upon meeting them, okay? The problem is he engages in hugging every single time. We need him to do some different responses, right? Wave, high five, fist pump, whatever it is, we need other responses. So what does that client have to do to engage in responses other than hugs? A, discriminate. Well, discrimination is going to be important, okay? But the discrimination doesn't necessarily affect the hugging in this case, okay? Because he's already greeting who he's supposed to. He's just doing hugs too much, okay? So he's not discriminating between stimuli. He's differentiating between responses. This is response differentiation, okay? When you are looking at multiple responses, we're differentiating between hugs and fist bumps, high fives, all right? He's not discriminating between stimuli. He's differentiating between responses. C, differential reinforcement. It's not a behavior, right? It's how we teach differentiation and discrimination. And then D, functionally communicate. Well, he's not communicating anything, okay? We're not teaching him to communicate. He doesn't have to be able to communicate functionally in order to do different responses. In order to engage in different responses, though, he needs to be able to differentiate and do differentiation of responses. So what does he have to do? He has to differentiate. After an initial functional behavior assessment, your supervising BCBA decides to track the rate of a client's nose-picking behavior. What do you need to have in order to track the rate of nose-picking? This is a simple definition question, kind of disguised as an application question, okay? The behavior doesn't really matter here. All right, we need to figure out what we need to have to track rate, okay? And in order to know that, you just need to know the formula for rate. And by now, hopefully you know it. All it is frequency over time. So we need a frequency, and then we need a time frame of measure, okay? So A, the frequency and the latency of the behavior. Well, we know latency is not part of rate. A is out. B, the frequency and the duration of the behavior. So be careful about this, okay? We're not so much concerned with the duration rate, okay? We're more concerned with what's our length of time measurement occurred, okay? Did it occur over a day? Did it occur over an hour? How many times did it happen during that length of time? So C, the frequency and the length of time to measure the behavior is a lot more accurate, right? Because frequency over time is rate. And then D, just frequency. No, to make it rate, we need to add time. So what do you need to have in order to track the rate is C, frequency and a length of time to measure the behavior. What is a possible negative side effect of using a punishment procedure? Okay, basic ethical concerns with punishment. Okay, there are many. We're just going to go over a few here, right? It's kind of a teaching question. So what are some possible negative side effects? A, the person implementing the punishment becomes an aversive stimulus. Happens all the time. If you're constantly delivering reprimands, punishment, punitive punishments, punitive consequences, whatever it might be, you can eventually make yourself an aversive, because now you're just signaling that punishment is available. You got to be careful if you're giving punishment that you're not always giving punishment, okay? You're starting to send the wrong signal. B, the punishment leads to aggression from the learner. Punishment-induced aggression is a real thing. It is a definite negative side effect. And then C, the learner becomes resistant to the punishment. This also can happen, okay? Just like people can satiate on reinforcement, if you punish over and over again, people eventually become resistant to it. So, what are possible negative side effects? Well, the person implementing it becomes aversive. The punishment leads to aggression, punishment induced aggression, and the learner becomes resistant to punishment, resistance to punishment. So, what is possible negative side effects? Well, D, all the above. Claire knocks on the neighbor's door. The neighbor opens the door and says, "Trick or treat." Claire responds, "Trick or treat." This is a type of what? Okay, I always say you need to be familiar with these four verbal behaviors. All right. Are they going to test you? Maybe, maybe not, but you're going to see them and hear them all the time. So you need to be familiar with tacts, mands, interverbals, and echoics. What is a tact? A tact is a label. Okay, somebody labels something. It's a tact. A mand is a request. You ask for something. An interverbal is like a conversation. You're answering a question. And then echoics are exactly what it sounds like. You just copy exactly what the speaker said. So in this case, neighbor opens the door, says trick or treat. Claire responds, trick or treat. Did Claire tact? Did she label anything? No. Did she man? Did she make a request? No. Did she engage in conversation or answer something? No. All she did was copy exactly what the neighbor said. When you copy exactly what the speaker says, you are engaging in an echoic. Awesome. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. As always, work hard, study hard, and we will see you soon.